expect that there will be others that follow through. It's not just an IT thing. What it deals with is anyone's business processes or their workflow and being able to automate those in a much more efficient and effective way. The final core program that IT has is the Workforce Enablement Services. And this is anything from our project management office that helps to manage implementation, particularly of larger IT projects, to our ability to determine and deliver solutions that are specific to the needs of the workforce at large. And in this area, we also did some adjustments with our staffing, so it went up slightly. But again, the net effect of all three of these core programs is that reduction of 11.7% in our total spend expected for next year. One thing I would mention in the Workforce Enablement Services area, this is something that I've been working with the departments since I came to the city in 2011, and I am happy to say that we continue to position to refresh our information systems just like we refresh our technology, those PCs on your desk or those servers in the data center. It's unfortunately life in the IT world where technology doesn't last forever. Our information systems don't last forever. And so we've made a concerted effort to stay fairly current and modern with the technology that our employees are making use of. Finally, I'll just quickly mention some things. In our CARS requests, a number of these are sort of standard things that we ask for and have been. The Enterprise Land Management Systems public portal is requested through this process, as is the Enterprise Content Management System services that we've been doing over the years. And then we have a number of smaller requests for our total CARS costs, as you can see on page 17. And then finally, the other mechanism that we make use of is the CLIC process. And there are two things. One is the Enterprise Infrastructure Modernization. And again, this is sort of a year in and year out request that we receive money to refresh our hardware and our network in our data center. And you also see the money that's being requested to continue with an implementation of a new police report, or really police information management system. The CAR system that we currently use was something that the city wrote about 25 years ago, and so that's being refreshed with an off-the-shelf software product that we have found. And with that, I stand ready for any questions.
We do have a question. Thank you. Councilmember Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Dahl, could you explain a little bit more about what the $2.8 million would cover for the new police? What was it? The police tracking system? Yeah. Are we talking about tracking employees? Are we talking about tracking the work plans of MPD? What's sure. All in that?
Chair Quincy, Councilmember Cano. The Police Information Management System is their primary system of record for all police incidences that take place. So, for instance, if there's a burglary, those police reports and so forth are captured within that system. And so that's their primary data that explains what's been, in essence, happening in their world. And they use that to generate statistics on crime and also for them to determine what actions they may take with their policing techniques and approaches to combat whatever crime that they're seeing in the city. So it is their primary information source for the crimes that are occurring in the city.
So is this a completely new software and program, or is this an upgrade to an older version?
Right. Chair Quincy, Councilmember Cano. No, this is a completely, it's a forklift of the old system. We're not upgrading this one. Unfortunately, the car system, which what they use today, is something that we wrote more than 2 decades ago. And it's based on technology that is also really out of its useful life. And so we really do need, and so therefore we went out into the marketplace, and we're in the process of ultimately selecting, negotiating, and then bringing in that software. But this is a completely new system.
Does that cover your question, Councilman Cano? Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Dahl. I think as we were talking a little bit about what Councilmember Cano brought up, we talked a little bit about it in finance and property services just before this, is that we're talking about some computer upgrades. So there's a great connection at every department level with what IT does and how other departments do their work. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as part of the service department that IT is. I did have a question on the full-time employees, FTEs, for this area. I don't see any enhancements that look like new bodies, but since this is relatively new conversion to a in-house program, how is that accounted for in the budget? Because we should be seeing new people.
The 33 people that are that have been hired to support the desk side support as well as the help desk, those actually were put into the 2015 budget, and so that's why you don't see anything added for 2016. They're already in there. As a matter of fact, they're already hired and on the job, and we'll be cutting over to them officially on November 30th.
Very good. I knew that was the occasion, but I wanted to highlight that because as we were talking at I think the first budget overview session, we were looking at employee changes, body counts citywide. A lot of them were attributed to IT, but from a budgeting point of view, they were budgeted in 2015, so they've been carried forward as ongoing expenditure within the fund. So thanks for that clarification. And you say they're all on board at this point. That was a Herculean effort.
Yes.
It's a big deal to get so many people up to speed as quickly as we are. So thank you for that work. I think that does cover any questions. So we're looking forward next to our next and final budget hearing for this afternoon. It's a combined one. I love this one. This is my favorite one. No offense to IT department as they're leaving, and finance department who's staying. But we're going to hear from Jeff Johnson, our executive director of the convention center, and we'll be, I'm sure, blending in beautifully with Mr. Tennant from Meet Minneapolis. So, Mr. Johnson, welcome.
Great. Thank you very much, Chair Quincy, council members. I am Jeff Johnson, executive director of the Minneapolis Convention Center, and our budget is on budget book pages F66 through F74 for your reference. Jump into just our organizational chart. With me today is Mark Zerbel in the back, our Director of Event Services, and then I'm sure you will see Chris Hunges. She couldn't get here early, but she will be here, and she's our Director of Business Administration and actually is the author of this presentation.
I think we made it.
And there she is, so great timing. Also, Melvin Tennant is here, and as you said, Melvin is the CEO of Meet Minneapolis and will be co-presenting with me, and I'll let him introduce his staff that is here when he gets to his portion. So, a quick overview of our budget request for 2016. As part of the Convention Center's thought process and mission going forward, a key component of that is to use our resources responsibly. And so that lens has been put into everything that we've done and how we've looked at our 2016 budget proposal. We want to make sure that we're only asking for what we need and that we're projecting out into the future and making sure that we have the resources available, but also are using those resources efficiently going forward. We have 4 programs. We have our facilities program, we have our Talmadge program, our Target Center program, and our events program. I will go through those programs. First, start out with our facilities program. Obviously, this is the place that we use to operate our facility, the bricks and mortar of our facility. It's also the place where we invest in our facility. We're asking for a small increase this year over year, for our facilities program, and much of that money will be going towards our repair and maintenance or investments into our facility. There are 3 core investments that we want to make in 2016 and really continue from what we've been doing the past 3 or 4 years. And the first one is sustainability investments. We want to reduce our negative impact on our community and make sure that mostly through energy reductions, we can reduce the amount of energy we use. We've been using a lot of lighting upgrades in our building, and we have some more to do. That has helped us substantially on the amount of energy that we use. We also are working on some projects around water, and we will be putting forth and designing a water catchment system for the convention center. And then also trying to continue to beautify the outside of the convention center through some landscape changes. And we have an idea to put in a pollinator park along 3rd Avenue, which should go nicely with the new protected bike lane that goes along 3rd Avenue. The second area that we really focus on is our infrastructure investments. This may not be the most fun area, but obviously with a building that is 25 years old, there are things that have come to their end of the life. So things like sewer lines, our heating and cooling, we'll be doing some upgrades in those systems going forward. And then the last area of investment is our competitive investments. This is really a continuation of our interior refresh. If you've been to the convention center lately, you probably see a lot of different painting. We've been painting the entire building this year. We're going to continue that painting process next year. We also have been adding some local art to our facility. And we'll be beginning in 2016 some design work for a new plaza in front of the convention center that is better suited to hosting events. Facilities program, one of the main areas that our operational excellence has really come forth over the past 5 years is through recycling. Although we are most likely not going to meet our 2015 goal of a 75% rate of recycling, we have done great work in increasing our recycling threefold since we started really monitoring it in 2011. This past 3rd quarter was our highest quarter for recycling ever. We came in at 64%. And as you see, for 2015 year to date, we are at 59%. So again, we want to push that and make sure that our impact on our community is lessened. Next area is energy. Again, I talked about what we are doing from a lighting standpoint, but we also have made some really big improvements that have helped us as energy costs have gone up. We have actually seen our total budget for energy go down because of a lot of the improvements that have been made to the convention center. So we are using less energy, and it is costing us less because of the improvements that we are making to the building, which again obviously saved us money for many, many years because we are not having to spend money on that energy that we don't use. And then the next area is water. Obviously, water to the City of Lakes is very important. We sell the fact that we are the City of Lakes and that we have the Mississippi River running through us. And so we also want to make sure that we're protecting our water and the water of Minneapolis. Each year, an average of about 16 million gallons of water falls on top of the convention center. And we want to make sure that we catch that water and we can use that instead of the potable water to do our irrigation. With this system, we should be able to save enough water for 37 homes with 4 residents for an entire year. Their usage for 37 homes of 4 people living there for an entire year by catching this water and using it instead of potable water to do our landscaping outside of the convention center. So we feel really strongly that we can be a leader in this realm. We can also use this as a selling point as we go out across the country and talk about Minneapolis and talk about the convention center, that we're really doing things to help our community. The next program is our Talmadge program. This is an area where we are asking for.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, just checking in if there's any questions before we move on to next sections. And Councilmember Cano, like I've never heard your name before.
I know.
After tripping all over it, so there it is. Alondra, go ahead and
Thank
talk.
you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious as to what was the increase between 2013 and 2014 actual, because it seems like the overall trend is that it was going down and then there was that little jump. Just wondering where that came from.
Through the chair to Councilmember Cano. What we saw is actually an increase in our attendance, and that really hit us. I think we also saw that we did not have the things in place to help us with some of our outdoor landscaping. That was one of the reasons that we really focused in on this water catchment system, because we saw that a lot of our water was being used for that irrigation, and we wanted to make sure that we could address that.
Good.
All right, next program is the Talmadge program. In this program, we are asking for slightly less money. This is a very small program. For those of you that don't know, on our plaza right out in front of the convention center, there is a building called the Talmadge Building, and we have been managing that building and operating that building as an office building for many years. And we really want to look at that building and say, what is the future of the Talmadge Building? So 2016 will be a year where we vision and talk about how that building can become part of the hospitality community and serve us a little bit more than it is right now. It's in need of some repair and some updating. And so instead of just making a decision to keep it as it is, we want to use this year to really think about what the future could be for the Talmadge Building. And then once that's decided, bring it forth and see if where we go from there. I'm going to jump right through the Talmadge program.
Yes.
On to the Target Center program. Again, the Minneapolis Convention Center administers the Target Center budget for the city, and also the yearly capital improvements for the Target Center. As you all know, I'm sure, the city has partnered with the world champion Minnesota Lynx and Minnesota Timberwolves.
Say that again. I'm sorry. What was that?
The world champion Minnesota Lynx.
Again?
Again.
Again.
It just keeps happening. It's amazing. Also AEG, which is the city's operator for the Target Center, in a $128.9 million renovation of the Target Center. I'm part of the design group, and that design group has been working feverishly to come and bring a project forward. The City Council will see that project in the spring of 2016 and be able to decide if we are going to go forward at that point. Things are coming together well, and a lot of work has been put into the project so far. Obviously, the Target Center budget for this year and their program is impacted by the renovation and the renovation agreement. As part of the renovation, some additional monies were placed into the budget, as you can see on this slide. Those monies were part of the negotiated deal that we put forward to council and was approved, and will only be spent if the council approves the renovation going forward. I will pause in case there are any questions about the Target Center program.
No, happily.
All right. We'll move on then to our events program. So this is how we support our customers' needs and how we put events on at the convention center. We're asking for a reduction in our funding for this program this year based on our revenue projections and event activity that we are projecting for 2016. Really, the mix of events for 2016 project to be a lower revenue potential than we had in 2015. And so correspondingly, we are asking for less money to be able to put those events on in the convention center. The events program is, though, the big driver in Minneapolis for our hospitality community, and it provides services to our customers, and it also makes sure that we can host and sustain over 6,300 hospitality jobs and bring in an estimated $292 million in economic impact in 2016 through events that happen at the Minneapolis Convention Center. If projections hold true in 2015, we will have had 3 straight years of record revenue at the Convention Center. So we have been on a very, very good run and through a lot of hard work. Even though we are projecting slightly lower revenues at the Convention Center in 2016, if you take it into context, it would actually be our second largest and biggest revenue year if it comes in as projected. So we're still doing well. It's just, again, slightly lower than where we thought it was going to be. As we look at our expenses, this is another area that we have been working hard on. And as you can see, we have been able to keep our expenses relatively flat basically since 2010. This has been a lot of hard work, as I said, about the infrastructure improvements that we've been doing, but also we've gone to a more flexible work model that we've put in place. We also have been making sure, again, that we are using our resources in ways that are more efficient. And so we're very proud to be able to say that we're bringing this forward as basically a flat budget, a flat expense budget going forward. This slide shows, again, our impact on our community. And as you can see, one of the reasons that we have been doing so well is that we've been drawing in people from outside of our area. And so these non-local attendees that are coming in higher numbers over the last few years spend more than our local attendees. These are the people that are staying in our hotels. These are the people that are then really spending time and going out to our restaurants and seeing our attractions. And so that has been a great trend. Again, we're showing a little bit of a decline in 2016, just again because of the mix of events that are coming to Minneapolis, but still very, very strong, almost $300 million in economic impact coming to our region from events at the Convention Center.
Mr. Johnson, I think you just said it, but these are all the events at the Convention Center. It's not just, does it include Target Center?
Chair Quincy, these are just events at the Convention Center. The Target Center brings in about $100 million of economic impact, and much of that is due to the fact that many of the people coming to the Target Center are local residents. So even though they draw 1 million people a year, that spend and that calculation is a little bit lower than some of the people that, again, are coming from out of town and staying in hotels.
Good to know. Thank you.
Obviously, a huge portion of our events program is our partnership with Meet Minneapolis and our contract with Meet Minneapolis. As you can see here, Meet Minneapolis receives base funding out of their contract from the City of Minneapolis, and then the opportunity to, based on 4 goals, there are key performance indicators, receive some incentive funding. Meet Minneapolis is also asking for some enhancements this year, and that is 2 areas for a tourism master plan and for an increase to a sister city program. As I had mentioned earlier, Melvin Tennant is here, and I'm going to have him talk specifically to those programs and to the rest of the programs, and then I'll come back at the end, and if there's any questions for either Melvin or myself, we will be available for that.
That's fine. Not seeing any questions now, so Mr. Tennant, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Quincy. Members of the committee, appreciate the opportunity to spend a few moments with you. And as Jeff indicated, we've been a partner with the city for 28, 29 years. We've enjoyed the partnership, enhanced it over the years, and certainly look forward to continuing it. And as Jeff mentioned, in addition to our base funding, we have a couple of areas we want to share with you as proposed enhancements. But on the, I want to just go back real quickly and just mention, and I'll go into detail in a moment, the Tourism Master Plan and the Sister Cities Program, but also on the key performance indicators that Jeff mentioned, that was installed into the contract that we initiated in 2010, so to increase the, obviously, accountability of the organization. In terms of the services provided, I want to just highlight several areas that I think you'd be interested in. First is need period initiatives, and as we indicate, we're focusing on driving hotel occupancy and hence hotel tax revenue in the first quarter, because that is obviously a time when many of our hotels need business. So that's a very significant focus of ours. As we indicated, we'll be focusing not just on groups, but also on tourists, getting people to come here for leisure purposes. And certainly something like the Super Bowl in 2018 is an opportunity to build that, but we feel as though there's opportunities to do that year round. MVI, that's code for Minneapolis Visitor Information. We certainly hope that you have a chance to come visit that facility. We did a great event today in conjunction with the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce in their Good Morning Minneapolis series. But it's home to obviously the visitor information, face-to-face visitor information program that we have for the city, as well as a social media command center. Retail, we have a retail partner there for all things Minneapolis. We're very excited about that. On the PR front, we certainly do public relations already in our job, but I want to just highlight this particular initiative because we have a lot of great things coming to fruition in the next 2 to 3 years, from stadium, from Nicollet Mall, new hotel development, and I think it's important for us to take a good look at the comprehensive impact that these new assets are going to have on our ability to market the destination. In 2006, Meet Minneapolis was part of a consortium that had an activity called the Arts Explosion, and that was really taking advantage of the $500 million worth of arts infrastructure that came in over a short period of time. So it's very similar to that initiative. And then finally, under some significant services to be provided, we are going to support in some undetermined way the World Expo bid that is proposed for this area in 2023. So that would be a great opportunity for us as a community. So drilling down a little bit into Minneapolis visitor information, I mentioned our retail partner, St. Croix Retail. We also were fortunate enough to have Move Minneapolis co-locate with us, formerly TMO. And then, as I mentioned, our social media command center right at the intersection of 5th and Nicollet, right at the light rail station. Looking at our tracking, we've talked about that before, but 4 main areas of tracking that I think really show that the depth and the breadth of our program. Group room nights, convention center revenue. That was, again, an addition to our contract in the 2010 contract, and that's very unusual for a Convention and Visitors Bureau to have responsibility for that revenue goal at the convention center. So that's worked out very well. Leisure room nights is the third one, and of course, you obviously invest in us, but you also expect us to get the private sector to invest in us as well. So through the city investment, we're able to secure additional private investment to help us market the city even more aggressively. So the first area would be for a tourism master plan. We're looking at one-time funding for an initiative that will help us to really come up with a roadmap for the ability to be a much more marketable destination. That is for approximately half of what the total cost of this initiative will be, and with this initial city investment, we'll be able to secure the rest from the private sector. And as you can see, there's a little bit more information about the tourism master plan, that it's a 10 to 20 year plan that is very similar to what the Downtown 2025 plan is. So again, we've worked very closely with the Downtown Council. They will definitely be a partner with us, and look forward to initiating that early next year. So quickly, I just wanted to give you a flavor of the growth of the visitor traffic here in the metro area. This is for the entire metro area because it's hard to really segment in any one community. But we're on track to be able to attract nearly 37 million visitors by the year 2017. So we're very happy with the way in which our partnerships and our marketing initiatives have succeeded in bringing in more visitors. Visitor spending commensurately would also increase. So this is not an economic impact number. This is an estimated direct spending of visitors. So we're very, very proud of that number as well. Jobs, that's very important. We have seen a steady growth in hospitality jobs. These statistics come from Deed. And as you can see, since 2010, actually, we've seen steady growth in the number of hospitality jobs in the community.
And I assume, excuse me, those jobs will continue to grow, especially as we bring on new facilities online, other hotels, other restaurants, other developments that are happening in downtown. So you're more than happy to take credit for all of this.
Well, we certainly are part of it, but certainly the private sector and its investment in the industry with the new hotel growth and restaurants and other facilities, that certainly helps us to tell a better story about Minneapolis, but very much so. We're glad to see many more people being able to support their families by working in the hospitality industry.
Yeah, it is tremendous growth that we're seeing in this city because of everybody willing to make those investments.
Exactly,
and,
sir.
And that just helps build the story as we continue to talk about a more vital and expanding, growing city.
Absolutely. Thank you. Sister City, we've managed the Sister City program on behalf of the city for 5 or 6 years now, and we have 12 Sister City relationships. And this is a unique opportunity that we're looking to be a part of in 2017. Several commemorations regarding World War I and other historical events with the relationship between the United States and France. Several of us were able to go to tour this year to see an example of the type of event that they're proposing in order to feature Minneapolis. The program is actually typically that they do in Tour France. They call Foire du Tour. It's a big, much larger than a state fair. It's a regional fair where they highlight a destination. And this is one of the few times where they're actually highlighting a city versus an entire country. So it's a great opportunity for us. We feel as though that the city's investment of $50,000 is being more than matched by what Tour is doing. They're putting in $100,000. And we've also begun to look at the private fundraising to make sure that we're able to pull the full program together. So that's a one-time request that we're making. There's a little bit more detail on Tour on that program. So on that note, thank you, and we'll pause for some questions if you have them.